Mohsin Naqvi is the new Jay Shah of the Pakistan Cricket Board. And that's scary because India hasn't won a trophy that they haven't given themselves in 11 years. Welcome back to the Backward Point podcast. My name is Nazar Sayed. And in this episode, we are talking about the Pakistan-New Zealand series. We are wrapping it up. We're giving our review and telling you how we feel about it. With me, as always, is my brother and co-host, Bashar Sayed.
Hello. A Pakistan A star team versus New Zealand D team.
I think the amount of letters that have been used to describe this team is just abysmal. I think it's not that bad of a team.
What if you use numbers? What if we say it was a third string?
But it wasn't, though. It wasn't. Because,
bro, 9 of their players are in the IPL. So that's 9 players that go straight into their playing 11.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that the playing 11 that they're the people that they were sending out to the ground were
it's not their first choice team.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean that they were bad players. That's what I'm trying to say. The quality of the players does not diminish if you're not in the first 11.
At the same time, it's not their best players.
Of course, it's not their best players, but
if it's not their best players, it's not their worst players.
I'm just saying the demeaning quality of basically rating these players as B tier or C tier is abysmal. I think it's absolutely stupid to do that. You basically corner yourself. You go out, you play the game in a very different fashion as opposed to playing in the game if you were quote unquote playing with the A team. I think it's just a horrible mindset to be at. Oh, this is not even a B string or C string cricket team. This is a D string cricket team. It doesn't change the fact that 20 years from now, when they look back at this series, it'll be New Zealand versus Pakistan, not New Zealand D versus Pakistan 11. That's just my take.
There will always be a caveat that says
there won't be a caveat.
It wasn't an A string New Zealand team.
Nope. There will not be a caveat.
Well, I guess me and you will look back at this series very differently then.
Yeah, I'll just be like, oh, New Zealand came over and they whooped us and we got smashed.
And I would say that wasn't even their best team.
Yeah, and I'll be like, doesn't matter. If someone is representing their country at the highest level, they're there for a reason.
They're there because their main guys are in the IPL. That's the reason.
Whatever the reason may be. I'm not here to debate that. But before we get going, again, I just wanted to thank our Patreon subscribers. We're excited to be supported by them, and they're the reason that we keep the lights on to this podcast. And we have a thriving community. We actually have a call with them tomorrow. And we have a monthly call with them. So if you guys want to join, the tiers are available on the link below. Please do check them out. Join in, say hi, support the podcast. And then any other thing we have to shout out real quickly. We're doing memberships on Spotify and YouTube as well. We go live once a series. We don't go live this series because a lot of things were going on. But whenever we do go live, membership people on YouTube get priority comments, and they come right up and we read them and we give them priority access. So that's something that you can also look into if you want to support the podcast. So let's just get into it. Like, what happened at this 4-game series?
Shout out to the Pakistan Army for training the Pakistan players at the Kakul Academy, because
shout out to Pakistan Army for a lot.
Yo.
Already he's stressed out.
3 of Pakistan's players that were in the squad have been injured. Azam Khan, before the series even started, he had a grade 1 calf tear, so he ruled out of the series. A series that I think him and many of us were looking forward to, because he's gotten a few challenging series in the past. He played England in England. He played Afghanistan and UAE and New Zealand in New Zealand. So finally, he was getting a bit of an easier series where he could come play his game. First 3 games or 2 games were in Pindi, which is his home stadium for Islamabad United. So sad to see that Azam was ruled out. But what was shocking for me was hearing that Rizwan had a hamstring injury, and then Irfan Niazi got an injury. And these are 2 players who were arguably the fittest players going into the Kakul training camp.
Do you think there is a correlation?
There has to be some correlation, because it baffles me why the Pakistan Army was sort of interfering within the cricket setup. It only makes sense that they would, because they're just spread everywhere in every department of Pakistan. So why not cricket as well?
Yeah.
So,
and also they had success in 2016 when this happened, I believe. That was the reasoning.
So Misbah said that players did not really get fitter, but it was more of the bonding that they got. They were able to get out of their comfort zone and train early in the morning, do different kinds of trainings. But my problem is that cricket has now become so advanced that players are looking to do cricket specific training. I remember speaking to Ramon Race in the podcast, and he said that post his knee injury, he came back doing cricket specific training that used to help him with his bowling, with his batting, his fielding. And having heard that and seeing players do that, it was a bit of a shocker to me to see our players climbing walls, jumping off ropes, swinging off ropes.
Yeah, it was complete meme material. And I think I tweeted this when Azam Khan got injured. I was like, bring in the memes, bring in the Kakul memes. Because not only was it not cricket centric at all, it was just embarrassing to look at. These are civilians. Yes, they do one thing really, really well, which is play cricket, but then you can't just chuck them out of that environment and throw them into something as aggressive as the training was in Kakul. So I was thoroughly disappointed in that. I don't think it really had any positive effects. I don't even know if the bonding really will help, because during the Kakul training, we switched captains and we brought in an old captain that maybe we were sort of done with, or we have retired that chapter of Pakistan cricket. We brought it back, as we always do after we press panic. And, it led to Azam Khan, Rizwan, and Irfan Niazi, three very important players, one making his debut for Pakistan, one making a comeback, and one trying to solidify his space. At the end of this series, I feel like we're just left with more questions than answers.
And that's just the players that were injured. We saw a lot of players that just looked stiff and slow. I remember the third game, was it, where Mark Chapman scored a lot of runs. He was dropped twice, and there was a lot of fielding errors. And once that happens, it shows that our players are a bit stiff. They're not at their best. Might be sore from the training, because if they're doing different sort of trainings, their cricket muscles are not being exercised. There's a chance that also had an effect on why Pakistan's fielding was below par this series.
Yep. So in a roundup, would you call this series successful or a failure?
I think Pakistan has left this series with more questions than answers.
Yeah, I just said that.
Thank you. I just repeated what you said.
This is peak podcasting, guys.
I think the one thing that we were sure about this series was Saim Ayub being Pakistan's opener, but he's had a horrible series. So people are also now questioning Saim Ayub's place in the team. They're like, bring back Rizwan Babar. We love Pakistan being 40 for 0 in the power play, and then being 70 for 1 and 10 overs, and then scoring 100 in the last 10 overs.
Because if the result is the same, if we're just still scoring 175 to 180 every single game with the tactic A, which was the Rizbar, and with tactic B, which is Saim and Babar, then what has changed?
We need to give Saim Ayub a longer run. I know he's had quite a huge run. I mean, this series was a flop. There's no questions about that.
Series before this,
we love the Karachi agenda. We love the no-look agenda, but we have to look at his numbers in this series.
And both the series were against New Zealand, which he's flopped.
One away, one at home. Challenging series, but at this level, once you've been through the domestic rigor, we expect Saim to convert his domestic numbers, his PSL numbers, over to international. Now, Saim Ayub scored 57 runs this series at an average of 14.25 and strike rate of 129.5, below par. I think what Saim needs to focus on is having an alternate to his no-look shot, because teams know he loves to play that shot and they keep balling him in that same area, but he keeps getting caught out at deep fine leg.
I think in the third game, they actually had him set up like that. They had a person there. I think he let go one shot. One shot went and hit the 4, and then the other one was just caught there. And he was just perplexed, like, what just happened? Like, they set you up. Like, if you know that's going to happen, maybe changes the way you're going to play, maybe shuffle a little bit. I don't know. I just thought I was very disappointed in Saim Ayub, and disappointment only occurs when the standard that Saim has set for himself is so high. I think if Pakistan need to, because we're look forward thinking a little bit, if Pakistan cricket team need any success in this upcoming tournament that everybody's eyes are on, then two people have to shine. It's Azam Khan and it's Saim Ayub. Without them,
both of these guys played for Guyana Amazon Warriors last CPL. Saim was the highest run scorer. He had the most sixes. And I think Azam's performances in the qualifier and just his overall stats in the CPL support that he could sort of play that role we needed in the middle overs. And we'll come to that. But the one thing I was glad to hear finally from Babar Azam in the post-match press conference after the 5th game was that they will continue to give Saim Ayub chances because, I mean, I think I'm not overhyping him. He is a once-in-a-generation talent, and we need to safeguard him. We need to give him more opportunities. And the kind of cricket he plays, it's high-risk cricket. So high risk, high rewards. He'll fail. Sometimes he'll succeed. When he succeeds, Pakistan will have that good start in the power play, and he may even go on to score big runs once he gets his eye in.
I think Babar is also that player that understands that some people do take time to succeed in certain formats. Babar himself took a long time to succeed in tests, and it took him about 15 to 30,
20 plus matches to get
20
his
plus
first
matches,
century.
30 plus innings to actually solidify himself in a spot where now he's like, yeah, it's a no-brainer. Number 4 is locked in. So I think Babar respects that. I think he wants Saim to grow. Saim is a no-brainer in the T20 squad. I think, especially with Rizwan out of the series for the next 2 series, Saim's number 1 spot does not move, regardless of his performance. Unless he like F's up really bad, I don't think his spot moves anywhere. I think he's good for the next 7 games for sure.
Let's say hypothetically he does. What's our backup? Do we bring
Fakhr
up? Do we get Mohammad Haris back in the team?
We'll talk about Mohammad Haris.
Do we go back to Babar Rizwan?
I think we'll talk about Mohammad Haris because I do want to discuss it. But again, I want to keep the retention for people to stay longer onto the podcast. Guys, don't move away. We'll talk about Mohammad Haris. But one thing I wanted to talk about real quick because we're on Babar and his press conference. Do you see any growth in Babar's captaincy in the 4 test T20s? The one thing that has definitely shifted is his mood in the press conferences. I've seen a few of his press conferences. He seems quite aggressive. He seems quite short with the journalists. He definitely is a bit more snappy, sassy. I don't know. I've never seen this side of him on press conferences. Usually he has a learned script that he goes through and he just, blabbers that off, those talking points. But now he's like, there's some afterthought. There's some slight and a little bit of a, what is it called? Those intrusive thoughts coming in and taking over. What do you think about those?
I think Babar has a challenging job at hand here. He's been given lots of ammunition in the form of the players that he has, and it's about when he uses which gadget when. And the first problem I think is with who balls in the power play. We have 4 new bowlers in the playing 11 who will play in the World Cup, which is Shaheen Afridi, Naseem Shah, Mohammad Amir, and Imad Wasim. And all 4 of these guys can bowl in the power play. They're new bowlers. When does Babar utilize which bowler when? There were a few decisions that I liked from Babar, like promoting Shadab in a few games. It was good. Pakistan gave opportunities to new players. They experimented. So I was happy seeing those combinations being tried out. But the one thing where I think there needs to be more evolution in Babar, which is his mindset while batting and setting targets batting first. Babar in his last press conference said that Pakistan's power play score of 50 plus is okay.
Yeah, I heard that.
And he said that they are lacking in the middle overs where they need to score about 40 to 50 runs between over 7 to 10 and then score 90 in the last 10 overs to score 190. I think if you're aiming for 190, you will score 170, 175. And I think the last 3 games, 178 was the score either being scored by Pakistan or being chased by New Zealand. So we need to change that mindset. The 3rd game where Mark Chapman scored lots of runs and they won the game, Babar said we bowled poorly. Azam Mahmood said we were 10 to 15 runs short. So there seems to be a disconnect between the captain and the coach on why they lost the match.
Why do you think we lost that match?
I think we underscored.
So it wasn't the bowling.
And a lot of it has to do with Pakistan's issues in the middle overs. Yes, we're improving in the power play. Pakistan scores in the power play this series were 48 for 2, 54 for 0, 48 for 3, 51 for 1. These are good scores. Yes, we may have lost a couple of more wickets when we wanted to. But when you're playing high-risk cricket with good positive intent, this can happen. Where Pakistan has really lacked this series is the scoring rate between over 7 to 15.
That's exactly what I was going to bring up. I think Babar saying that 7 to 10 is the problem is still pretty. It's very naive. I think that the area that they need to focus on is from 7 to 15. And what I think they need to work on is just basically intent. That's what they're lacking. The number one thing that I've seen from overs 7 to 15 from the Pakistan cricket team is basically they dry up the runs. They go start playing ODI cricket for a minute, and I'm just like, why did you just stop? Are you just like incapable of scoring if it's not either over 15.1 and on or the power play? Like the field, you have to manipulate it. That's your job as a batsman. The bowler will be there to, stop his end from leaking runs, and you have to target the bowler. Now it just seems like they sort of nudge the ball around a little bit. If they see a bad ball, they go for it. If not, they just keep rotating the strikes. Great for ODI cricket, not for T20 cricket. I think the mindset has to change. And again, if there's two anchors on the top, that's going to be a problem. In all of the scenarios that we've seen in the last 4 games, apart from one game, there were always anchors on the field. Be it Babar, be it Rizwan. There was never a moment where we had a Iftikhar or Saim step up and see what happens from 7 to 15.
So let me just say one thing. There was a moment in I think the 4th match or the 3rd match where Pakistan was chasing and Iftikhar was batting with Iftikhar, and they both were just going singles, dots, and that just built pressure, and Pakistan had way too many runs to get in the last 2 overs.
Has Iftikhar been exposed, in your opinion?
Iftikhar has always been exposed against spin.
What does that mean to me? I just don't understand. Like, again, basketball analogy, right? Everybody knows that Shaquille O'Neal was horrible at free throws. Like his free throw percentage is like abysmal, like 20% or something. And if his free throw percentage was actually just like 20% better at 40 to 50%, then his overall stats would have been that much better. But let's just say Shaquille O'Neal was bad at free throws. But Shaquille O'Neal was a once in a lifetime, once in a generation talent. There will never be another Shaq ever again. So you can give him the pass. Okay, he sucks at free throws. That's fine. But he does other things really, really, like exceptionally well. Nobody does that better than him. Be it guarding the rim, guarding the players. He's 7 foot tall. He's huge. He can dunk. Exceptional. Iftikhar is not Shaquille O'Neal. So we cannot give him a pass for not being able to play the most important aspect of the game, which is spin. I just baffles me when people are like, oh yeah, but Iftikhar can't play spin. What do you mean he can't play spin? Like, what do you actually mean? He's an international cricketer, professional cricketer, getting paid thousands of dollars a year, and he lacks at a very basic element of the game. And we're okay with this?
Iftikhar's strike rate is 116 in the middle overs versus spin, and that compared to his strike rate of 148 against pace, very contrasting. And he struggles against spin. You can see I am struggling. I'm secondhand struggling when he's batting against spin.
Yeah, you're feeling like your hands are tired, just tensing up.
Yeah, I mean, like he scored a few boundaries here and there, but mostly it's just he's playing 2-minute odd balls. He's just scoring singles. There's no doubles. Got to hit the ball in the gap, run hard, scored the odd boundary. And that's where I think Iftikhar is struggling. So we've basically, because of this, we've contained or we've boxed Iftikhar as someone who comes in the last 4 overs and hits pace. And when he does that, it's a very high risk job. Sometimes you can, today's game, he hit a full toss by Jimmy Neesham straight to Long On's throat. Got caught out. 6 off 7.
And that's been the story of Iftikhar for the past couple of series. That's why I feel like maybe the Iftikhar that we saw previous to this was different from the Iftikhar that we got to see now, which is really ironic because everybody says he sucks at spin, but the one highlight moment that stands out for Iftikhar in my history of the cricket that he's played is his over against was it Bishnoi or Chaval in the Akshay Patel in the World Cup 2022 World Cup. He went for like 15 in that over.
I think he scored 3 sixes.
3 sixes. It's crazy. 15 or 20 for that off that over, and it was the 11th over, and that was the over that Pakistan was looking to accelerate, and he gave him that start. So I don't know if it's just a cover that people keep talking about. Oh, he can't play because he's capable. We've seen him do it. It's just like how much these are professional cricketers, man. This is what they do for a living.
And the more he plays, the more he will get exposed because we're living in an era of data and matchups. Teams will know middle overs. If Iftikhar Ahmed batting, let's bring on a spinner.
Like you're an accountant and you don't know Excel.
Yeah.
It's just not acceptable in my book.
And then Fakhr also, like he has a strike rate of 130 in the middle overs, which is okay, but like Fakhr has struggled this series. Like the scorecards may say that he scored 43 and he scored 49, but in reality, he has struggled in the middle overs and he has caught up towards the end. So Pakistan's middle overs issues are still there. Pakistan actually has the second lowest run rate in the middle overs since the last T20 World Cup. Pakistan's run rate is 7.3 between over 7 to 15. Only Afghanistan is below us, who have a run rate of 7.03. Now, the top team on this list is Australia, whose middle over run rate is 9.75.
Yeah, so they keep scoring. They take their power play momentum and keep it forward, keep moving it.
And here, Babar Azam is saying in the press conference that we will score more runs at a higher rate in the middle overs versus in the power play, where actually two fielders are only outside.
This leads to my next question. Is Usman Khan a bust?
Usman Khan this series was definitely a bust. And he's taken we've talked about this last episode, he's taken a huge leap of faith in the Pakistan Cricket Board, this Pakistan management, by foregoing his contract and his future and the UAE cricket team to play for Pakistan. And this series, he scored 59 runs at an average of 14.75 and strike rate of 123.
My question remains the fact that was the PCB just having massive FOMO and that's why they retained Usman Khan and pursued him the way that they did? Or did they actually see something in him which was so appealing that we had to let go of Mohammad Haris?
Well, here's a problem, right? So there was a stat that was shown consistently throughout the whole series where it was Usman Khan's stats batting in the top 3 versus batting number 4 and lower. And the difference was of day and night, poles apart. Usman Khan is a much better batsman when he's batting in the top 3. I think his strike rate's better, his average is better, and then his strike rate, I think if it goes to like 115, batting at number 4 and lower. And the problem is we have Mohammad Rizwan, who is in our top 3.
Well, the last couple of games he wasn't there, and I still did not see that generational talent that everybody's been boasting about at the top 3 spot. I just saw somebody who's like a bit timid, a bit nervous, didn't really get going, more of an anchor situation. And I think his run, all of his scores were just over on a ball, like 29 ball, 35, like stuff like that. And I just was never impressed by him throughout this entire series. I don't know if that's the same thing that happened to you, but I just felt like, why? Like
Let me have
I'm
a
struggling
more
because I think Usman Khan, we think is one of the PCB thought that Usman Khan was either an Imran Tahir, a Sikandar Raza, you name it, like that person that slipped the cracks and now is playing for some other team. But I just think he was the result of a system that was working, which means that he actually was never that good, and the system never brought him higher than wherever he played because of that.
I'll take that one step forward. Usman Khan is in the Pakistan team because of his last 2 seasons in the PSL, like 400s, 175, 80 strike rate, tons of runs. But we need to be honest here. We need to talk about how, like, is PSL really the highest quality of cricket in Pakistan?
No, that's what I mean.
Is the PSL what it used to be in season 1, 2, 3? Are we seeing the same big stars in the PSL that we did before? How have the pitches behaved the last couple of seasons? How have the boundaries been short? What bowling talent is playing in Pakistan in the PSL? And he's scoring runs against those talents. So when he comes to the international scene and he flops, there shouldn't be much surprises because he was never put up against that high quality of a talent to be tested.
And in contrast to the UAE contract that he had, he would have been one of the top dogs there.
For sure.
And that's not a bad thing. That's just maybe he would have gotten more opportunities. Maybe he would have played in a spot that suits him better. He would have probably opened in the UAE and so on and so forth. He would have been more successful in an environment that suits him better.
A lot more secure as well.
Yeah. And that's totally fine. Like, I think about it like in the way that we play cricket here, right? We play in a Premier League system. And let's say if I was the top scorer of that Premier League system, would I automatically be promoted to TND? Would automatically be promoted to like district level cricket? No, like I would suck at that because my expertise is this very small section of the cricket that I play, and I'm good at it. But that doesn't reflect my overall performance in a very competitive environment. I think the PCB again has dropped the ball on this. I think they've sacrificed a career here, and Usman Khan, I don't think he's the answer that we were looking for. But you know who is the answer that we were looking for? It was Shadab Khan. If you just do a slight adjustment, take Usman out, you move Fakhr 3, you make Shadab 4, you put Ifti 5, you put Azam 6, all your problems are solved.
And where's Rizwan?
Who?
Rizwan.
Who?
Where is Rizwan?
Who?
Is my question.
Man, I think I don't see a place where Rizwan plays.
49 average.
I've said this.
Mohammad Rizwan, fastest to 3,000 T20 runs.
Also took the most balls.
Shaheen Afridi said that he is the Don Bradman of T20s.
Shaheen Afridi.
Okay, is that a compliment or is that a roast?
Shaheen Afridi could not pick out Don Bradman in a lineup.
Is that a compliment or a roast?
It's just an opinion. I don't think that means anything. I don't see again. I've said this on record. Mohammad Rizwan does not fit my T20 squad. Maybe in my squad he's there, but he doesn't fit my T20 11. Like it has to be a radical change for something like that to happen. And I would rather pick Mohammad Haris, and I would rather pick him and flop than pick Rizwan and him just be the same 29 ball 35. That's just my honest opinion. There's nothing wrong with that.
You know who's not going to agree with you? Talha Azam.
It's fine. Talha Azam is one of the most successful agents in Pakistan. Talha, come on the pod, bro. Like, we would love to interview you. I think you have one of the most incredible, interesting jobs in Pakistan cricket right now. You're managing some of the best players, and I think that would be a very interesting conversation to have. But that's just, I will not try to cater to anyone's feelings. This is the opinion that I have, and I think a lot of people agree with me when I say this.
Shadab Khan has a average of 24 and strike rate of 147, batting at number 4 in T20s. I think what Pakistan needs to do actually is just have the openers set. Everybody else is a floater. If spinners are bowling, send in Shadab, send in Azam Khan. If pacers are bowling in the death overs, send in Iftikhar. So be strategic when it comes to that. If there's a leg spinner bowling, send in Fakhr Zaman so it spins into him. So just be open, be flexible, and be adaptable.
Agreed. I totally agree with that. One thing I liked that Babar mentioned was the absence of Azam Khan was felt. And I genuinely feel that. I think the 5 and 6 slots they felt empty without Azam there. And I think if Azam was there, then an Ish Sodhi would have gone for a lot more runs. Maybe that would have actually given confidence to a Fakhr Zaman who looked timid against Ish Sodhi. I'm like, that's your bunny, brother. That's the guy you whipped across in where was it, Bengaluru? Hyderabad. I'm like, that's your guy.
Was it Hyderabad? Was it Bengaluru?
I feel like it was Bengaluru. It was Chinnaswamy.
Okay, yeah.
And I was like, that's your guy. So I don't know. Like sometimes it just takes one to know one, and Azam Khan is definitely one batsman that doesn't give a who's bowling from the other end. He'll go for it if he wants to. And we sent Azam texts on your behalf and on my behalf. I told him we're thinking about him. Hopefully he recovers soon. And just cryptic Instagram stories as well from Azam Khan. I like that.
I think this series has it's made me more inclined to think that maybe Azam Khan is the answer to our middle overs problems.
I've been saying this.
Because he has a strike rate of 137 in the middle overs in T20s. He has a strike rate of 144 against spin in T20s. So if you need somebody who comes in the middle overs, attacks the spinners, like attacks them out of the attack, that has to be Azam Khan.
Yeah, definitely. And I think a fit Azam Khan is definitely it'll be the icing on the cake. And I would love to see him against Ireland, against England. I think those situations, again, he's been to England before. He didn't really do well. That's why I was hoping that this series would be that confidence boost that he needs. Babar talked about how Saim just needs that one good innings and that'll just set him off. And I think we've been talking about this on the podcast as well. For Saim, for Azam, even maybe for Usman, like that one good innings was this series. It was an ample amount of opportunity for them to shine. And it was just the same old culprits scoring runs for Pakistan. It was either Rizwan scoring at 120, or it was actually Babar being a little bit more aggressive, or it was Shadab coming in, scoring a good 19, 20 ball 40, Fakhr doing. It was the same names, and nobody else really took the mantle. The opportunity was there. Like Usman Khan could have scored a good 25 ball 50 or a 30 ball 50. We would have been singing praises, but that's not the case. And I mean, I just want to know like what goes on in Babar's mind. Like today on this game, the last game, he bowled 8 bowlers, and
it's easier to count the bowlers who did not bowl.
Yeah, it was himself. It was the keeper. That's 2, and who's the third one?
I know who it is.
Wait.
I know who it is.
Fakhr.
Yes.
Yeah, those are the only 3 people that didn't bowl for Pakistan tonight.
It's the first time ever Pakistan has used 8 bowlers in a
T20s.
T20.
So tactically, I think he's trying some stuff out. But then I had a question here is that, we can talk about this near the end if you want, but, is international bilateral series just like basically warm-ups for ICC events? Like they have no stakes. Like Babar Azam is treating, like not even, it's not just Babar. I don't want to pin him down, but a lot of people treat these pre-big tournament series as tryouts. So they don't have the same stakes. So like a Babar Azam could fall behind the excuse of, well, we were just trying people out. Even if you lost the series, it doesn't really mean anything. If you come back with a trophy, nobody will give a crap. And that's true. Like we won't. And it just loses the weight of bilaterals. It just loses the weight of just the attraction of this. I was just happy that all 4 games were sold out. There was a full house everywhere, and people really wanted to interact with these.
Would it be sold out if it was in Karachi?
I don't think so. I think that was a good call from the PCB not to have any game in Karachi.
Also, the Pakistan women's team was playing West Indies in Karachi.
Yeah, and good for them. They got hammered as well. I saw that, and yeah, it's just one of those things where I'm just curious about the way Babar is captaining this time, because it seems it to a lot of people it feels like the same old, but I sense a difference. I see that there are things being moved around and pieces being tried out. Maybe it's not successful, so it's not being paid attention to, but it is definitely a different mindset to the same old job.
The one thing I want to talk about is Pakistan's bowling. Now, Mohammad Amir came back into the team. How did you see his comeback to the series? He got a wicket the first over. He was back, and he still seems like a fan favorite. Chance of Amir going in Bindi Stadium. So good to see him back.
Yeah, we actually were talking to Qazi Akbar, who got emotional at his wicket, and he was like, "Man, this is like the prodigal son return vibes." And I messaged and I was like, "It's not the prodigal son returns. It's the prodigal son returns, retires, returns." And it's a very different scenario. But yeah, I get people getting really choked up because Amir is back wearing the greens and definitely an asset. I think I don't know where he sits when Haris Rauf comes back. And Haris Rauf will be back. Shaheen was just saying that in his post-match interview that, Haris, he's started bowling again for the past 3 days. He might miss the Ireland series, but he'll be there for the England series. So
our fans have a very short-term memory, and they forget that Haris Rauf has been our main bowler the last 2 World Cups. They're taking his recent PSL form plus his ODI performances, and they're blowing it out of proportion. I think Haris Rauf is still one of the best T20 bowlers in Pakistan, with his pace, his variation, his skill, and now his experience.
I just saw a quote from Virat Kohli. I don't know if it's recent or it's from that same.
It was when he was talking to Star Sports about his innings against Pakistan.
I just saw it like today, so I felt like it was more, I don't know, maybe it was just an old thing. But because that Indians love to really repeat. And there's like 4 documentaries on that 1-6.
Well, they know how to celebrate their heroes.
Definitely. And that then
what have we made of the 152-0 match?
No, they get mad at us for like keep bringing up the Champions Trophy final. Like you stop talking about the.
We will.
That we will keep again. I just brought it up. I will keep bringing it up because it was one of those moments where it's like the 2011 semifinal for you guys and the Champions Trophy final for us. I think that's equivalent. But yeah, Virat was saying that basically that moment, that whole spell, Haris Rauf was the best bowler in that match.
He got Rohit Sharma and Surya Kumar Yadav out.
So
in the power play.
That's the guy. That's the guy you're talking about. And when people come out and they have their short memory spans and they come out and start bashing these players, I don't know. I sense the vitriol. I know where it's coming from because I too feel like I was let down by Haris Rauf in the World Cup. But again, that was a different format, different style. Maybe he was underutilized. Maybe he was used in the wrong areas. There's a lot of different ways to break that down, the qualification of what happened there. But I think if you come back to T20s, he's a no-brainer. So then what do? Where does Amir go? You can't play 4 seamers, or can you?
I don't think you can. It has to be one of the other.
And because if you're playing 4 seamers and you have Shadab, Iftikhar, and Saim, you can get away with
this. This is actually a good problem to have because you now have a good backup, right? You can either bench Amir, you can either bench Haris Rauf, and then you also have Abbas Afridi and Usman Khan. So that's, I guess, the one positive from this series that we have players to look back on if injuries, which inevitably happen.
You can look at today's game. Like whenever somebody was getting hit for runs, Babar just changed it to somebody else. Like Usman Amir was doing good. The ball was turning. Usman Amir had a wicket maiden. He brought on Shadab. Shadab took a wicket.
Bro, Saim Ayub today was. It seemed like
Warney.
We are living in some parallel world where Saim Ayub is flopping internationals and the series, and Usman Amir is just doing his best.
Yeah, I think he's sort of cemented his place in the T20 squad for the World Cup. I think a backup leg spinner is the way to go. I just didn't know why they didn't play Babar today. I think Babar would have.
They played Babar a couple of matches. He looked pretty decent.
He looked good. He looked decent. Like there's no way. So again, Pakistan has a paradox of choice when it comes to these bowlers because they have a really good mystery spinner.
Again, good problems.
Good problems, and Shadab looked better as well in his bowling. And so like I'm confident with the bowling, but that's been the case for a while for Pakistan. It's always been the not even just the opening. Opening is also fine in my opinion. I think if Saim can be consistent, if you can continue with the form that Saim knows that he can bring out, that's fine. Like I'll give him a couple more. I'll play him throughout the World Cup, to be honest. Like there's no way that I'm benching him now and bringing somebody else in. He's my guy. My stocks are in. I've cashed him in. I've bought the bonds. I'm gonna cash them in the World Cup. So that's good. But then the problems occurs from 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
That's basically the whole half the team.
I don't know what to say. Like that's where we're struggling. And there are moments where somebody comes up and steps up and scores some runs, be it Shadab, be it Iftikhar, but the consistency there is lacking. And that was sort of the problem that India had in the World Cup as well. I remember it was the 2021, 22 World Cup where their top was so strong that the middle order was never tested. And then when it was, it just got, I think it was the
2017 Champions Trophy.
Yeah, 2017 Champions Trophy where they were exposed in the final because they were obliterating everybody. And then when it came to time to like for people to stand up, nobody did that. And I don't want Pakistan to be in that situation for sure.
Yeah, I think what else? We have the Ireland series coming up, and then we have the England series.
That'd be a tough series.
The weather at this time in the UK is sort of cold. It's overcast. Some games,
but they're going mid-May though, right? They're going in the 10th or something.
Yeah, so I mean, it's not ideal cricket weather yet.
Yeah,
it's going to be rainy, overcast, cold. Not the ideal preparation for games in the New York and Florida.
In the New York,
a city so great they named it twice.
Yeah, New York State.
New York. The Office reference. So Pakistan has lots of challenges coming up. We, I think, are both blessed and cursed to be covering Pakistan cricket because there's never a dull day. There's never consistency. So there's always content. But at the same time, our mental health takes a toll.
Like, honestly, I think after we lost the second game, Bashar was on my case to do a podcast, emergency podcast. Like, what is the emergency? We knew this was going to happen. Like, there is no, at that same point, I just was like a little bit tired of the drama. Like, I just wanted to talk cricket. And I'm here talking cricket because, yeah, I started with the most unlucky thing. It's just like I saw the PCB chairman's reaction to a bilateral series draw against a, like you said, a lower tier New Zealand team. And I was like, this is not the reaction that you need right now. Please. Like, at least the reaction that I got from Babar at the press conference was like, he was annoyed. He was like, this is not the result that I wanted. And he said that himself. It was like, I was hoping for a win. I was hoping for a sweep. This is not what I wanted. But it's okay. We learn, we move on. And yeah, like this is so much stuff going on. But I think at this point, I would also like to tell our fans that we've been inconsistent for a while because there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. We were moving houses. We weren't moving houses. We were moving houses again. And at this point, we are not moving houses for the next 4 to 5 months. So our we had to pack up the whole studio. We had to unpack it. And that's why we were just not able to cover anything. And I think now that the clarity is there for the next 4 months, you'll see us here. And hopefully we'll be able to live stream one of the Ireland matches because I'm telling you those are going to be tough. Those are going to be tough games. And those are conditions. Ireland is a really good team now. I don't know if you've heard. Ireland, maybe not as strong as the Afghanistan team. Like they just came in and swept everything. But the Irish team is working hard. And, their head's in the right place. Their politics is in the right place, if you know what I'm talking about. So I think it'll be a tough situation for Pakistan to go in there and get 2-0.
I think people are underestimating how difficult Pakistan's pool is in the World Cup.
Yeah. It's actually terrifying.
You're playing Canada, you're playing USA. These two countries
Are
have
kind of the hosts.
they're
So
the
they
hosts.
know their conditions.
They know the condition. They know how drop in pitches behave. They know the weather conditions here as well. Playing in New York, you're gonna see sunshine. You're gonna see cloudy weather. Might even see some rain, all in the span of 1 hour.
They're playing in the morning, so there's going to be dew. Like there's so many aspects of it that you just don't know. And I'm not scared of like Ireland or India. I'm scared of these two.
I am scared of Ireland because the last time we lost to them in the World Cup, our coach died.
That's why nobody's taking up the gig. Other man was like, I'm done for the series. I'm not coming back.
I'm gonna step down to assistant coach.
Yeah, that's a less cursed position. But yeah, like I'm looking forward to this series. There's a lot to talk about, a lot to unpack when it comes to that. I think at this moment we're just marinating into what this series was at the end. I think a lot of people are really quick to count this as a failure. I was actually reading my notes, and these are just my free flow thoughts and what I thought. We keep pushing the Pakistan team to experiment, and I think we on this podcast said that experiment with new guns, experiment with players that you want to succeed, you want to see succeed in the future. Even if you lose games, don't press the panic button. And I saw a lot of people online do that. That the panic button was pressed, that Babar should be stepped. Like a lot of people were calling a lot of nonsense out. And I think that you need to step back. You need to let the Pakistan cricket team run its course and see what they come up with. We criticize after the World Cup, or we celebrate after the World Cup. Right now, at this moment, we trust the process. And I like what the process is currently. Rotating players, trying players. You know, you sort of find a few fits. They're learning from their mistakes from 2023. And I have to respect that. I have to support that when I see that. And yeah, just at this point, I feel like Pakistan cricket team is riding a wave, and the next 7 games or next 6 games in Ireland and England will dictate where that wave is headed.
I'm sort of on the opposite spectrum. I'm scared of this Pakistan team.
But you can't be.
We have a lot of unanswered questions. There's a lot of slots that we don't know who's going to fit in, and we have games against Ireland and England. 2 series that may even mislead you to think that this player is good, that player is good. He scored a 50 against Ireland, and a World Cup pressure, a game against India, a game against USA in the USA, Canada, in New York, in drop-in pitches. It's going to be a different ball game altogether. Vikarpai, I love you. So we have a lot of unanswered questions. There's lots of question marks on this batting lineup, and Babar's captaincy. Will he continue to evolve, or will he stay stagnant? And will Pakistan again will maybe make the semis and get ruled out? Who knows?
I just think it's too soon to concern troll. And I just think it's too soon to throw that kind of energy out there. I think trust the process. Let it gel a little bit. I think we found, again, a lot of questions were raised, but a few answers were found. Let's take the wins slowly but steadily, and let's move on.
Well said. I think on that note, we'll see the patrons on the call tomorrow.
Yeah, but they'll probably, this will come out before the call. So hopefully, yeah. Hopefully, if you haven't signed up yet and you're listening to this, yeah, go ahead. Come on.
And we have more cricket content dropping. We have plans of covering the IPL playoffs.
Yes.
There's a legacy podcast that I have in mind. We're just going to drop before the World Cup. So stay tuned, and we'll see you guys on the next episode of Backward Point.